Hey YouTube, it's your boy Venom XCV here, bringing you the pod of Duality, where we are going to talk about all things Yu-Gi-Oh! Today we have a special guest, Mo from 60 Card Shenanigans. How you doing, Mo? Thanks for being here.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you very much. Look forward to
Yeah, no
this.
problem, man. Yeah, no, I've been looking forward to this project. It's been a lot of fun talking about it, trying to get things up and running. So I suppose just to give our listeners and viewers a little background on ourselves. So obviously I'm Venom. I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! At a very young age, maybe when I was around about 5 or 6, something like that. I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! When the first starter decks came out. So I'm talking Pegasus, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Joey, Kaiba. I had them all, and my obsession just grew from there, really. And obviously, the anime helped bring that along. So, me and my cousins growing up used to play Yu Gi Oh cards together, but at the time, I was a little cheat because I didn't play the actual Yu Gi Oh rules. I played the anime rules, where when you'd activate that like water field spell, and I had like water monsters that my cousin would attack me, and I'd be like, no, you can't see my monster, so you couldn't attack. It's just stupid stuff like that. But then it wasn't till Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is when I really developed real interest, like full blown interest into Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I really loved Blue Eyes growing up. Blue Eyes Shining Dragon was just like a god card on its own, effectively. But it wasn't till I came across Cyber Dragons, and that's when I really fell in love with Yu-Gi-Oh! Even more, because to me, Cyber Dragons was like Blue Eyes, but better because it had special effects and it could actually do things.
Yeah, I
So it was
remember.
just it was just so cool and mind blowing. And for many years after that, that has literally been the deck that I piloted and played with all the time. Up until recently, when I played Cyber Dragon religiously, and then I got into branded when the branded structure decks came out, and after that, then went to tier elements, and that is when I learned my lesson not to go for tier zero decks ever again, because you spend all this money investing in the game, and then next thing you know, your deck's illegal. You're like,
They get
well, why
hit.
did I
Yeah.
just spend all that money? So now, since that ever happened, I was like a lost sheep. I didn't know what to play. It was just it was just a sad period of time. Um, and then that is when I came across Scarecrow, and it's like I've just found my fire for Yu-Gi-Oh! All over again. And obviously, in fact, that's how you and I met, was when I was playing my Scarecrow deck against you. So yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
brought us up to now. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mo.
All right. Well, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time. I'm the old man of Yu-Gi-Oh. I think I started maybe. Oh man, I don't even want to expose my age, but so long ago. I was, I think, 19 when I actually started playing, and
Yeah,
yeah, because I was working this job, and
yeah.
my boss's kid was there, and he was just like
Mhm,
bored and just going through his binder, and like I had nothing to do, and I was just like, "Hey man, what
mhm.
you doing, bro?" And he was like looking at my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he was like, "You want to play?" And I was like, sure." And so this kid is
Wait,
like
this is
seven
a
years
kid's
old.
game.
Yeah, he's like 7 years old, 8 years old. I don't even know, maybe 10, but I don't know. But I was like, all right, cool, we'll play. And he's going through his binder and he's just like, here, you can use this and this and this and this. And he's teaching me the game. And he utterly spanks me. Like I don't know anything about the game.
Cheeks
But
clapped.
I learned how to play, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go buy my own deck and I'm gonna destroy this little kid. And I went to the card shop and I was like, I want the most the toughest deck or whatever. I want the best deck or whatever. And this guy, he's like, well, get Thousand Eyes Restrict. And I got Thousand Eyes Restrict. And I was like, yeah. and I was like, I like this. Got purple cards, and I went, started dueling him, and like his sister worked there too, and like we would duel, on lunchtime, and we started dueling, and I got into it. I was like really enjoying the game, and I took it
Yeah.
with me. I was like, like that was just something I kept with me. And then one day I dueled this kid. I don't know where. I went to a car shop or something, but I dueled somebody, and they freaked out on me. They were like, "That is banned," and I hadn't even heard of a ban list. I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" So like, I literally, I was like, "Fine." I just didn't play for a while, and then in I want to say 2014, I there was dueling network, and I
Mhm.
found dueling network online, and I was like, "Oh man, I can play Yu-Gi-Oh online," because I didn't really know people that played Yu-Gi-Oh like that.
Yeah.
And I started playing on dueling network, building all kind of decks, and I was like, I had all of the cards at my fingertips, and I really got into deck building. I was like nice
Yeah.
despots and I tried them all, like a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
Benkai, samurai, equip spell. So I was like, oh, I was going through it, and then like the format changed, um, and I hate it. I think was it MR4. I really hated MR4 because
Yeah.
I played a lot of Xyz decks, and I was like, man, I can't even make two Xyz monsters now. Like I was playing Crime and Punishment. You need both of these Xyz monsters to
Mhm.
for them to
Yeah.
work, and it was like almost impossible to play. And I was just like, man, this sucks. Um, but I played simulators for a long time, and then
Yeah.
after like
Yeah.
when the pandemic came, they introduced like remote duels. I don't know if they introduced it, but that's when I
Mhm.
found out about it, remote duels, and I was like, yo, I can play with real people with real cards. And I started buying my decks again and playing
Yeah.
remote duels.
I, I think it's one of the best things for Yu-Gi-Oh to have came from the pandemic because at the end of the day, in this day and age, everyone needs to work to get by. When you're adulting in real life, you need to work normally full time. And then obviously, if you have kids or pets or anything, that's just added responsibility where you tend to find your actual time very limited. So I think the remote drilling is, it's about time they did something like that to give a platform to the people who love to play but just struggle because of life circumstance, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it brings
Yeah,
people
it's
together
just,
from
it's a great
all
thing.
over. Like I'm in the US,
Exactly. Well, that's it.
and
Well, I'm Scotland and you're the US, and we met on Edo Pro, and here we are today, talking all things Yu-Gi-Oh! So, how do you feel about the current format? How do you feel it's
I
starting to shape up? What we're going to see? What do you expect to see?
I actually really like this format. I mean, I have
Mhm.
my discrepancies, with
Yeah.
Konami. It's Konami. It's not the players of the community.
Hmm.
But I do like the format right now. I do. Well, let's start with some of the things that I don't like about the format.
Hmm.
Uh, and that would be the inconsistencies with Konami. So
Hmm.
some of the things that you can't respond to really drive me crazy. Like
Hmm.
uh, I feel like everything should have a response, and so they banned Red Reboot. So going second against a trap deck, like there's literally nothing you can do if they flip. There's like literally nothing you can
Whilst
do.
you're there, can I stop you? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. That final where they activated that trap card, the Destruction Virus trap card.
Right, right,
You know what I'm talking
exactly.
about?
And
It's insane. Well, the thing is, what I think is crazy about this card, and I feel like there should be an emergency ban list, is because it's
yeah,
so universal. It can be played in Dark World. It could be played in Branded. So on.
right,
There's so many decks that could utilize this trap card, which is a first turn kill. No one wants to be killed first turn
right,
without the
exactly.
opportunity to engage, interact, and play. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's like we're not really being uh, rewarded for being skillful anymore. So
Yeah.
It's like,
totally.
okay, there's like literally
It's as
no,
if you're being rewarded for winning the dice roll
yeah.
because you get to
So
go first, you know.
exactly. So I mean, and then this is one of the things that drive me crazy. Okay, so red reboot would be a counter, but it's
Mhm.
banned. So like you have no way to
Yep.
counter something like that. And then even at one, it's still difficult, because this is still I don't know if I wouldn't say it's a trap heavy format, but
Mhm.
they're definitely relevant. The trap decks.
I see how they banned Gamma. There's another Gamma card which is actually 4 trap cards, and that would be your only saving grace at this moment in time, really. You know, obviously you've got your Soul and Judgment and all the rest of it, which can negate it, but uh it's obviously it's if if they've gone first, you have no defense, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I totally feel you. I feel like in this format, I'm starting to see hand traps become less and less popular. I'm see Obviously we've just came out of a heavy drone lockbird format, but I'm starting to see
Right.
hand traps on the decline. So yeah, it's interesting to see how it's shaping up. And the same again, I feel like we're starting to pull away from heavy negation boards into more like old school Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's big, strong monsters with some form of cool effect, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, I agree. I think you like I said, Konami is doing a fairly decent job at giving us good support and monsters that
Hmm.
that are not like big negates. Like for example, like Avermax is one of these monsters
Yeah,
that it's not a negate, but it protects itself and it's still a problem for uh, other decks to out. So
yeah,
it's not like putting up Appaloosa where it's just like, all right, I'm gonna negate you 4 times.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
it's kind of a card that you can let them play, and then they have to
Aye,
expend the resources to get it out. They have to really figure out a way to get it off the board. And like I said,
yeah,
those are the type of scenarios that I like to see because it is rewarding to be skillful in those situations, to
hmm,
know how to play around certain things. And
yeah, no, totally.
yeah, so and another one I like is Mega Clops. I always talk about Mega Clops. It's like it can be outed by spell and trap cards, but
Yeah,
and Xyz monsters.
yeah,
So it's good to see that there are, and even Scareclaw, Tryhard is like it puts them all in defense. So now you have to figure out a way to get rid of that. And like I said,
hmm,
I just like to see Yu-Gi-Oh be competitive, not just shifter, and then like now I can't play. I kind of so but it's getting more to where we're seeing actual play. So with a
hmm.
few minor issues, I think that this format could be in a really good place. You know,
Yeah, yeah, no, totally agree with you, man. The one thing I feel like Konami could do better is their communication with the community. For example, give us a day where the ban list is going to be released. Don't just randomly drop it or drop it in the middle of a tournament because that changes everything, you know? Like
agreed.
we like to be told when things are going to happen and when they are not, you know?
Right. The OCG has no problem with that. They
Yeah,
know when
exactly.
they're
It's
going to
crazy.
get, but the TCG
It's
is a,
the
is
same
a bit
company.
different. Yeah. It's
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 still the same company, but so why is it treated differently? You know? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
it doesn't make
It's
any
like
sense at
even
all.
even Master Duel, you're told obviously. Well, you're not really told what day the ban list is going to hit, but you're kind of says, it kind of tells you these. I suppose it is a bit like the TCG because it will just randomly say these cards are going to be banned. This is the date. Yeah, true. Just like the TCG. I prefer it if it was like the OCG, so that way we know what to expect, when to expect it, better engagement, that would be great. And then
Yeah.
it's like I feel like they should like try like communicate more with their community. like throw up polls, ask the players what do they want to see, what cards would they like to maybe come off the ban list, what cards do they feel should go on, better engagement, because at the end of the day, it's us, the players who play the game, you know?
Absolutely. It makes no sense that the Konami doesn't really interact with its player base.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
and then so it begs the question, why do they create these ban lists? Like, is it for money? I mean, it's a business. I get that, but like at the same time, I wonder like if they do it for balance. Okay, we go into a tier zero format, and then they hit these cards
Hmm.
and these decks, but then they don't hit certain stuff, or
Hmm.
it's like I'm trying to figure it out. Like, okay, because they still have sets to sell. They still want to sell these sets, so they can't hit
Yeah.
everything that came out in that set. You know, so
But they, they,
uh,
they did that with the last ban list because Super Heavy Samurai didn't
yeah,
get
had
very
just come
far
out.
with being the
Yeah,
top deck. Yeah,
it
it
just came
literally
out,
just
and
came out before it got banned. It's it is crazy how they work things. But at the end of the day, maybe that should have been better communicated with the community to see what the players want. Because don't get me wrong, I hate first turn kill. I don't deem it a very fair way to play. That is how I was very surprised that Dark World didn't get hit on the ban list, because Dark World has an infinite hand loop which can first turn kill your opponent where they don't draw any cards. Sorry, they draw one card but they have no hand, you know?
yeah,
Um
yeah.
so yeah, it's one of those things that is a bit frustrating in the sense. Well, obviously, I don't want to sit and slag off Konami because they produce and give us the game that we all are here for today because we all love Yu-Gi-Oh! But
Right,
it's
right.
just very frustrating. I feel like things could be done better, you know, as I
Well,
says, because some sets don't get the full opportunity that other sets might get. It's like tier elements. I don't feel like they needed to hit tier elements as hard as they did.
no, they
The
absolutely
Shizu,
didn't.
the Shizu engine, however, is what made tier elements really broken. So I feel like if they maybe hit um if they hit their siege, I can't say it now, that engine harder, especially now what we know with Kashtira having came out properly round the corner with their new support, tier elements would not be a tier zero deck, but at least that archetype would be more playable.
Right.
You get what
Yeah,
I mean?
because yeah, of course. 'Cause I never was like one of the people that was like, "Oh, I hate tier elements." I actually really liked it. I'm a Skull Servant main, and it was like wonderful to mill a bunch of the cards. But you're right,
Yeah,
the Ishizu cards were the problem because tier
yeah,
elements honestly was kind of balanced. It didn't really throw up a bunch of negates. You might get a Draco Stapelia out there, or
mhm,
a Winda or something like that, which was difficult, but still not
yeah.
unfair
Not
or unbalanced.
impossible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was just a lot of interactions, and I think a lot of the community didn't like that there were so many interactions. But then at the same time, when the role is reversed, when like I said, if I'm playing tier elements, my opponent's
mhm,
just, oh, I don't like all those interactions. But when the roles are reversed, if you have the opportunity, like, you don't want me to do anything, and I think that's what people hated about tier elements, because right now our community and a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh players are like, I just don't want you to play, and tier
aye,
elements allowed you to play, and they just really
aye,
didn't like that. And so I think it
yeah,
got like a bad rep for being fair and balanced. It
yeah.
allowed you to play.
To be fair, in my opinion, it was the best deck we will ever see. Like hands down. I do not think even Kashtira at full pelt, I still feel like Tyroman's seizure was better, just because obviously you had your card milling, you had you were able to remove stuff from the graveyard and back into the deck for both players' decks. So you just had like full advantage across the whole scope. Then obviously that field card spell was just incredible. Even though it was once per turn, it was easy to trigger because you could trigger it my turn, your turn, doesn't matter. It was the best deck we will ever see. However, I feel like Konami could have been better in handling the situation
Absolutely.
so that way they didn't just nuke the entire
Yeah,
archetype.
they literally just banned Kit Kalos. They like a limit to one would have been fine, and then just
Yeah.
ban the Shizu cards. Like I the issues were really problematic. Those, I'm not gonna lie, were probably the real issue because
Mhm.
Keldo and Medora
Aye.
shuffling back your opponent's grave is
Yeah,
that was
exactly. Because
oh
it
man.
just stopped so many interactions and like broke up all the play.
Yeah, especially when it was at 3 and it was full power.
Yeah.
They're doing it twice a turn. They're so, so
It
it
was
was rough.
nasty. It was nasty. And
Yeah,
I
so
can
if they
understand that I can understand why people were against it, but that wasn't obviously they balanced each other nicely and complemented one another nicely. However, obviously the deck was just incredibly good to the point
oh
where
yeah,
they
it was
felt like
phenomenal.
that was the only way to deal with the problem.
It
But
was phenomenal.
that's
But I don't think it was
that's
toxic.
something
That's the thing.
else.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
think it
it
was
wasn't
toxic.
toxic. I
Like I
feel
said,
like
like I said,
toxic plays when you just prevent your opponent from playing altogether. Like for example, um, Flow with Great Barrier Statue. To me, that was toxic because if you prevent your opponent from special summoning, like you're just stopping them from playing most decks for the most part, you know. So,
yeah, like for yeah, there's been a lot of cards that were like that.
mhm.
Uh, what was it? S0, number S0. Was it?
uh,
Like when Numeron came out, everybody was running S0. Let Numeron go into S0, and then like your opponent can't do anything for the next turn. That's you definitely rightfully ban something like that. Anything that prevents interactions uh, should be limited at a bare
yeah,
minimum. You know,
yeah, I
so
totally agree with you there. I totally agree with you.
because
So,
it's like
if there's one card you could get removed from the ban list, any card, what would it be?
removed from the ban list.
Yep.
Uh,
Or even if it was you, you can like state as in back to three, back to semi-limited, or back to limited, whatever you feel is the most fairest for whatever card you choose.
well, I know a lot of people are gonna hate this, but Imperial Order. Bring it back to one at least. Like, yeah, we
Yeah,
again. I feel like there needs to be a balance. Every deck should have a hard counter that
yeah,
you got to build around. And so
yeah,
there's Runic right now going crazy,
yeah,
which is if I could ban a card, it would be that field spell.
yeah. I
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think it needs that field spell to work. So instead of semi-limited, if it's limited, it means it's more of a gamble when you're playing Runic because the deck is very good. So I feel like when the rewards are so good, the risk and the gamble should also be high to match that.
Right, right, and
And that way it makes it fairer in a
yeah,
way,
because
you
right now
know.
there's no risk. Even at 2, even it didn't impact
Low
the play.
risk, high reward, so it's not as fair as what it could be, you know. Um, but see, for me, I think a lot of people will agree with this because Master Duel has proven you can have this card and it's not going to wreck the format as Thunder Dragon Colossus,
Yeah, Thunder Dragon
you know.
Colossus could come back. I actually played uh Thunder Dragons, and I was heartbroken when that was. Uh,
Oh,
band. And you know what
yeah,
they
it's
just brought back in the OCG? They just brought back MX Saber, which I used to play
yeah.
as well. Oh yeah, like I played Golden Castle at Stromberg, and with the level threes going to a special summon a level four monster. I
Hmm.
loved it. And like I said, it wasn't degenerate. It's a rank three that
Hmm.
detaches and special summons a level four, I think, warrior monster. And it's not degenerate, but it got banned. So
Hmm.
in my head, I'm like, how come like we have all of this power creep, but we still ban something that does something kind of okay. So
Hmm.
it's I don't understand Konami's
Thought
logic.
process.
Yeah, not in the TCG, not at all. And
I
like I said,
would
so
love it
Colossus
if
could
they
definitely
like
come.
communicated that even through like a YouTube channel. Like, so they basically say this card is getting banned or limited, semi-limited. Here's the reason why.
Because of
Because
this.
when you're
Yes.
just slapped with a ban list, stuff is just banned left, right, centre, whatever. But at the end of the day, we would like a reasoning so that way everyone is on the same page. So we can say, right, we understand why you've banned this, or we can at least say we don't agree with that reason because of this reason. It allows engagement, and ultimately, it would make the game better.
Yeah. And like I said, again, it would increase uh the player base would have more respect for it. So I
Mhm.
feel like
Oh
we
yeah,
would be able to
totally.
we would be able to go out there and say, okay, I know what's going on, and especially if we got the updates sooner. I
Yeah.
think the last ban hit during a tournament, and then
Mm.
prior to that, I'm pretty sure the one right before that ban list, it was like up and effective tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah.
Like what?
I
like
know, I know. I think they've
like
done that a few times lately when they have dropped the ban list.
yeah, and it's like
It's
effective
just been,
tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. It's just been midway through a tournament. So you're like, what? You're crazy. You know?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's madness. So it is. It's madness. So anyway, we'll come away from talking about the ban list and the format. So let's just talk about more things, Yu-Gi-Oh. So at the minute, what's your favourite deck to play? What are you running? Just let us know.
My favorite deck is hands down Skull Servants.
Yeah.
I'm a hardcore Skull Servant junkie. I mean, I play 400 too,
I
but
could actually tell you a story about Skull Servants. So when I
what?
was recently new to Master Duel, I obviously played Cyber Dragon because it was my most beloved deck. And I remember like freaking out because they managed to somehow whip out a 700 attack monster. Sorry, 7,000 attack monster on the field. I was like, how the hell am I going to counter this? But
Yeah.
oh, I'll need to show you the replay for that because I managed to counter it and OTK in that turn. I
Um,
made a Cyber Dragon Infinity, managed to absorb their monster as a
um,
material, and then I managed to summon um, Rampage Dragon, and obviously with Power Bond, go for the kill.
yeah. Punch for GG.
Yeah,
I
you
like
know, yeah,
I like Master Duels a little bit. I don't play Master Duels as much anymore just because like I
yeah,
prefer to deck build freely.
yeah,
And
yeah, totally. I don't like
but
the restrictions.
what I do like about Master Duels is the one and done. It's
Uh,
there's no side decking, and you have to build for maybe going first or maybe going second because it's a coin toss,
mm,
a coin toss, and
yeah.
I really like that aspect of it. But yeah,
Well,
like
they're actually bringing out, from what I've read, they're doing a tournament where they are going to basically bring out Deck A and Deck B. So I think it is going to be a couple of rounds, and you can pick. Obviously, if I'm wrong, someone correct me, please, or drop a comment. Let us know. But from memory, basically, you know if you're going first or second, so you pick the deck, which will serve you best in that particular matter. But that's the thing, it's not side decking, it's deck one or deck two. But I suppose it's easier to do that online in comparisons to real life. Because let's be honest, imagine if you had Kashtira, which not so long ago was the most expensive deck in the format. Do
Right.
you Are you crazy enough to buy a second Kashtira deck just to have deck A and deck B?
Well,
Do you get what I
if
mean?
you I mean, if you can do deck A and deck B, I mean, you would this deck B wouldn't have to be Cashier, right? It could be Skull
No, but
Servants.
uh, I suppose. But what I'm getting at is obviously you're planning to run the same archetype, so that way deck A you would design for your deck to be able to go first. Deck B would be a sample of your deck, but for going second, for going second cards. So I can understand how in the TCG why they have the side deck, because obviously the cost of affordability. Does that make any sense? Because
It,
in a
it,
way it's a bit of a cost matter, because obviously who's going to actually have enough money for like two two full Kashtira decks with just slightly different cards? If
right.
Konami expected that, you'd have a heart attack. I'm like, no way, I can't afford
Especially
that. I'm not playing that. You know,
yeah, especially
I'll
with
just
cards
stick to
like
my cheap deck core. Hi,
yeah, especially when you're running cards like at one point, Forbidden Droplets were like $106, or
aye,
Access
eh,
Code Talk was crazy expensive. Uh,
yep.
so I can
Or
imagine
even
having to
what
run
right now, Pot of
multiple.
Prosperity. That's like what £50 a card, something like that. So that'd be
Yeah,
like what £300 to have six of them just to play if the TCG was like a deck A and deck B type format. You know, aye, it's
yeah.
crazy stuff, man. Mental. But anyway, so
You never told us what deck you're running. Your favorite deck.
you know my favorite deck. But for our viewers and people listening, my favorite deck by a country mile at the minute, and it's my main deck, is Scareclaw Kashtira. The reason being, I understand people say, yeah, but if you're playing Kashtira, you as well just going pure Kashtira. But that way it's kind of like, well, actually, they complement one another very nicely. And on top of that, Scareclaw Tryhard fixes the Kashtira problem, because Kashtira's biggest problem is getting flipped face down. The second that card's flipped face down, you're kind of in no man's land. Whilst the Scareclaw engine definitely complements that, because you can still get out your try hard, you can still do some really cool plays. You know, it
Yeah,
kind of,
absolutely.
in my opinion,
Oh
it
no, you're
it
you're
just
correct.
there's good balance. Don't get me wrong, I'm not
Yeah,
arrogant enough to ignore the fact that Kashtira is the best deck, but I just like playing the Scarecrow engine. It's just for me, it's just really fun to play. And in the day, if you're not having fun playing your deck, what's the point in playing? It shouldn't just
agreed.
be go
Agreed.
for meta. You have to play what you enjoy playing.
Yeah,
Otherwise, what is the point? What is the point in any of it?
hundred
So
percent.
that's my sort of thoughts and views. Right. I'm just looking. So we're kind of heading for time. So this is the last day of June. So I would like to just put a quick sort of moment to take time out just for a wee minute for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It is the end of it, but I feel like it's still something we should just quickly put out there. If you are ever feeling so down at that point, honestly, just talk to someone, talk to anyone. Like, my DMs are always open. You can join my Discord. We'll talk to anyone, give you the time of day, because that is it's the best thing to do, even if it's just talking nonsense to your friends, just to like cheer up and feel a bit better, or whether it's a bit serious to get the stuff off your chest. But the thing I feel like people should really be made aware of is your mental health is like a bucket full of water, and the key we actually call this the bucket effect. The key is learning how to puncture holes in your bucket so it never overflows with water. Because when it overflows with water, that is the point where it's maybe the point of no return, or it's the point of having a mental breakdown or something else along those lines. So I just really want to get that out there to people who are listening. Um, do not be alone. It's okay not to be okay. We all understand. We all have our struggles and we all have our bad days. So yeah, again, you don't need to be alone. Me and Mo are more than happy to make the time for everyone and anyone. Let's be honest with you, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not so much that it's just a community, but it's a bit like a family, really, isn't it, man?
Absolutely, absolutely, and especially for men, a lot of the time we don't open up and we kind
Hmm.
of bottle everything together inside,
Yeah.
and that's a problem. So we don't be ashamed of your story.
Oh yeah, totally.
It'll inspire others for sure. So yeah, don't hold it in. If you, like I said, get it out there. Like I said, even if you like feel like, oh, nobody can understand, nobody really, it still will help
Hmm.
to get it off your chest, to put it out there and get it out there, and then that's the beginning of a process. I I've I just want to say that for anybody out there that is dealing with any type of mental fatigue or
Hmm.
mental health issues, or even if you don't know if that's what you're dealing with, if you're starting to feel that there's
Just
a weight
down.
or burden on you. Yeah, if you're starting to feel down any type
Yeah.
of way, like reach out to someone. And like I said, even if it's, you know, here in the Yu-Gi-Oh community,
Yeah.
we don't have to be best friends. It doesn't have to be a best friend. It could just like be somebody with open ear. And like I said, myself and Venom for sure are here. But get it out there and don't think that it's a weakness. These are things that we can work through. And
Oh yeah, totally, man. Totally. Communication is key, as we've been talking about a lot of the time through this podcast. But I think this is a good point to sort of wrap things. So once again, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast today, Mo. Guys,
thank you for having
if
me.
you are interested, I'm going to tag Mo's YouTube down below, 60 card shenanigans. This guy is a deck building god for 60 cards. And I know it sounds crazy because I kind of thought it too. Everyone has their own play styles, but it's very unique and it's very interesting play styles. So please give them a subscribe, give them a like, give them a watch, and same with me too. Please like this video, please subscribe,
And
comment
leave a
down
comment.
below, let us know
Yeah.
what you think and any questions you maybe want answered for the next podcast. So thank you very much, YouTube. Have a good night.
Peace.